Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom. So in today's video, we are back to recap Married at First Sight, Season 11, Episode 7. The honeymoon is over. Thankfully, it took so many episodes for us to get to this point. Let's get into the review. The first couple we see that gets to move into their new apartment is Amelia and Bennett. I just wanted to know, why did Bennett have a Jabberwocky's mask on the back of his head? Why?
Why not? He's theatrical. What do you expect of Bennett?
Not that.
Okay, well, that's what he walked in with. And while they're walking in, they're like, oh, this is nice. They go around and they notice there's 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. And so Bennett walks around still looking at different little things, and Amelia's in the bathroom. She says, maybe we could use one bathroom for hygienic stuff and one for bathroom stuff. And Bennett comes back and he says, do you still wash your hands in the toilet? I'm like, please be joking.
But like you just said to me, do you think that they're joking based off of what we've seen so far?
Do I think that he was joking? No, really, I don't. Just by their quirkiness of the relationship. So today's the day that they have to move their stuff in from their own homes and bring it back to their shared apartment. The first place we go to is Amelia's house. And apparently she lives with 4 roommates. And she does go on to say that sometimes there's more. It just depends. As they're walking up the stairs, he's looking around and they get to Amelia's room. The first thing he notices is her jewelry that she makes for craft fairs, I guess. The earrings and things. And
I didn't expect nothing less.
All the little quirky things in her room. Well, when he lays on the bed, he finds her yearbook. Now, who just happens to have out their yearbook?
We know people who just so happen to have their yearbook out. But it was very interesting to note that she was homecoming queen. I was like, oh, Amelia must have been very popular and well liked in high school. And I can see that because I feel like she's a likable person. But Bennett goes on to say, you know, I never thought I would even date a homecoming queen, marry a homecoming queen. I was never in that realm. And as much as I think he's cute, I can see why he wasn't probably in that realm.
Well, because he just seems like he was always doing his own thing. Like now, he's into theatrics and nature. So maybe he was part of that club, whatever they do.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
So now they go see Bennett's house. And one thing about Bennett's house is it's a tiny home that he built himself. Said he took like 6 months to a year and a half to build, something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing that he built it himself. But I just didn't think that tiny house was going to be that tiny.
Well, tiny house. How big do you think it's going to be?
Not like a shed. It was like a he shed, you know?
Yeah, like a she shed. So once they got inside, it was actually very organized. It
didn't have a choice but to be organized.
It did, because he could have been a hoarder or something. But
in a small shed?
Yes.
A tiny house?
He was organized. I was surprised. He had things in order. It was neat. He had things hanging from the ceiling that his friends gave. Looked like a little dinosaur, some rocks, stuff like that. And you know what? Bennett is thinking to himself, maybe Amelia feels like she's out of place because the things she has more extravagant things and he's more modest. And he's not sure if she'll really come around. But I don't know why he would think that, because they seem like they mesh together in all areas like we mentioned before.
Well, and like I said before, it seems like it because people keep matching them up because they're so eccentric. But that's not always the case, which I will touch on later. As Amelia always does, she always puts her best foot forward. And of course, she likes everything. Why wouldn't she like everything? So later on, when they're finally settled into a new apartment, Pastor Cal arrives because he's going to go to every couple this episode. And I thought it was interesting that he brought up the fact that, you know, it seems like it's all sunshine and rainbows for now, which it does. When you start diving deeper into the real conversations that you really need to have, it more than likely isn't going to be this fairy tale that you think it is, especially on the fact, which I said earlier, about Amelia having to move away because of her career.
Right.
But Bennett said, you know what? It was kind of a little like spicy too. I think so. He was like, when we cross the bridge, we're going to cross it. We're fine for right now. You know, I have my thing going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to shift priorities, we'll see where it goes in the next few months.
And Amelia, she was okay with that for the time being, even though her face did drop a little bit, because I do think that will be an issue as it goes along. And another question that Pastor Cal asked was about children. Now remember, Bennett and Bennett's sister was saying how he wants to adopt children because the world is overrun by, you know, having children naturally. And he said that since him and Amelia have gotten together and she wants to have natural children, that he has reconsidered or is starting to reconsider. But Amelia said she would adopt too. And I think they could come together on that page. But Pastor Cal went back to that original question, like, how are you going to deal with things, you know, because everything is not roses. And then Bennett said again about the bridge when we cross it. But he also wanted to say that his roots are here, his theater company is here, and stuff like that. And he's just not sure. And when he said that, Amelia was just looking like,
what did you take that as?
like, wow, like maybe we're not on the same page after all. The next couple to move into their house is Karen and Miles. And once Miles walks in, the first thing it seems like he's looking for is a place to put his Xbox. Karen's face was like, huh?
I'm like, well, that's just another check on the list for Karen. Not like Miles.
So as the day goes along, they get to talking. Karen says, you know what? She had fun on the honeymoon. I'm thinking, did you?
She did?
That's what she said.
I didn't see it.
She feels like Miles is a nice guy, but she's still apprehensive to this whole process and moving in because she's not used to doing that. She's used to being on her own and things like that.
Before you continue, do you really think that she's being genuinely authentic, or do you think that she's still trying to see what's going to happen, you know, because she's just unsure?
She's still trying to see what happens because she's unsure. And that also comes up later when they talk to Pastor Cal. So Karen is also still talking about Miles's age. She said, you know, for him to be 26, it's almost as if he just graduated high school. I mean, technically...
I took offense to that.
Technically, he graduated maybe, 8 years ago. But it's not like he graduated, like, last year or 2 months ago. I mean...
Well, 2 months ago is a little... That's a little...
But still, I mean,
early.
He's on the show for a reason, too. I think she's forgetting that message. So now we go to their houses to get their stuff to bring back. The first house we get to is Miles's house. And the first thing Karen says is, well, you know, your dad told me at the reception that you don't keep things neat and stuff like that. And Miles was like, he's a lie. He's never walked in here before. I was like, oh.
He got real buck about it. But then we got in there and it was pretty disorganized.
Very. So I guess the dad was right, maybe from the childhood. Like, if you're unorganized, I guess you're just unorganized. So now we move to Miles's room, and he's got shoes, clothes, different work outfits on the bed, as if he was already ready to move in advance.
Of course he was. He was ready to get on Married at First Sight. It's kind of unfortunate he didn't get a partner who was as excited throughout the weeks. Well, actually for them it's still a week. It was interesting again because she went inside his closet, but first he wanted to mind prep her about all the shoes he had.
And when he mind prep her, I'm like, you know, he just wanted to like
get some affection.
Yeah, because
touch her.
Because he wasn't getting any. But that was just my opinion.
You was right, because I was thinking the same thing. And he did have a lot of shoes in his closet, and she was like, oh my gosh, you have all these shoes in your closet. But then when we go to her house, she has many shoes in his closet. So now I'm like, there's another check on the list of why she don't like him. I'm like, can he live a little bit?
She's looking for any nuance because just really all the things that she's gone through.
But that could have been something they had in common. Shoes. I mean, yeah, his wasn't in boxes, but she could have found a common ground with him, but yet she found another negative. So it seems on camera.
Right. So now Pastor Cal has finally come to the house to talk to them too. And of course he talks about the relationship in detail. And Miles thinks it's going pretty good.
Of course he does, Mom. Of course he does.
Karen says she doesn't know. he's still a stranger. She doesn't necessarily feel married. Maybe as the days go on, she'll feel married.
I have a question for you because she keeps bringing up the stranger talk. And even Pastor Cal was like, you know, you guys are no longer strangers. You know each other. So to you, how long on this show or dating in general do you think they would still be considered a stranger? Because I feel like at least after 2 days, you should try to get acclimated with actually being married and not still struggling. What do you think?
Well, at Married at First Sight, let me say that again. At Married at First Sight, you know the process is accelerated. So the person and the process that you sign up for, yes, they're strangers, but you can't view it as a stranger because you wanted the experts to find someone for you, hopefully for a lifetime. So that stranger thing to me is out the window. Now, as far as dating goes, I mean, it does take time to get to know someone. In general, it does. But you aren't strangers if you go on a second or third or fourth date. And this has been a week now.
I don't know. It seems like she's really just not trying.
I mean, where were the bracelets? I mean, they didn't show the bracelets. Now, Pastor Cal asked Karen, what is holding you back from affection and the things that Miles is trying to show you? Because I can see that Miles is trying to be affectionate towards you, but what's holding you back? And she goes on to say about that 4-year relationship she was in, how she thought he was the one, he wouldn't have the baby, so she's afraid of being hurt. Okay, I get that, afraid of being hurt overall, but we figured, we may not have been true, that she was bringing these past hurts to this relationship. So honestly, it doesn't seem like she was really ready for this Married at First Sight process.
It doesn't, because she needs to let go of that hurt and stop trying to bring it up as an excuse, because you knew what you were signing up for. So how are you still using this as an excuse? Oh yeah, because she doesn't like him.
So Pastor Cal asked Miles, how does he feel knowing the hurt that Karen has had in the past? And Miles tried to reassure Karen that I got you and it'll be okay. And I'm okay with putting my feelings to the side, knowing that you're okay. But Karen said, no, that's not good enough, because you need to let me know when things are bothering you, because I need to get to know the real you. I'm thinking that's true. She does need to get to know the real you. You can't put your feelings aside just to appease someone else, because if there's something bothering you, they need to know too. So that was the whole point of him telling her about the depression thing, right?
So we thought, but Miles tried to make it seem like, you know, happy wife, happy life. You know, then Pastor Cal was like, so if she doesn't give you any poom poom or nothing, then what? Are you still going to be happy? He was like no.
But I'm like, you can't have it both ways. So Pastor Cal went on to say, it's not happy wife, happy life. It's happy spouse, happy house. And I was like, point taken. Moving on to Christina and Henry. So they walk into their apartment, and the first thing that Christina does is, oh, I don't like this. Oh, I don't like that furniture. I don't like this. I'm like, why the negativity when you walk in, Christina? Why? You can change things. You can move things around.
Is it negativity, or is that her voicing her opinion? Well, whatever one that people think that it is, Henry isn't here for. You can just see it all over his face that he isn't here for. Just like Mom, she was not here for it, or my comment.
So as they continue to look around, Henry's okay. He's like, okay, this is nice. It's whatever.
Well, Henry was doing what Henry usually does, and Christina was doing what Christina usually does.
Right. So once they look around, they sit down, they have a conversation. And
did they have a conversation after that, or did it take a while for them to have a conversation?
Well, it always takes a while to get Henry warmed up, but they still had that conversation. She wants to know, how does he think things are going, and she's used to having a man be the aggressor and all those things. And Henry's just in there in his calm demeanor's like, yeah, I know. I just want to take things day to day, and you know, things will happen. Pretty much when they'll happen. Christina doesn't like this answer. And honestly, I'm getting tired of Christina asking him about this.
I'm getting tired of Christina asking him about it, but I'm also tired of Henry deflecting his true feelings about Christina. Like, I don't understand why he can't just express his grievances or concerns so they can actually work through it, instead of always just sitting there being awkward and silent. Because I'm kind of curious to how they worked off the camera. Was it just as silent?
So now we see Christine and Henry go to Henry's house, and Henry lives in a studio. I was surprised he lived in the studio. The way Henry's dad said he was meticulous about this and that and everything, even though he lives a bachelor lifestyle, I thought he would have something a little more upscale, I guess, just by the way his dad presented Henry to be, right? So once they get in there, at least it's clean, it's organized.
The picture of his dad in the wrestling belt, I'm like, that looks like something that he would do.
Yeah, and his dad probably made him have it up there, so when he comes over, he wants to see the picture. So Christina looks around like, oh, this is nice. It's small, but it's nice. I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah, and then she also made a comment on his pillow that he got because he had heart surgery. And it said, oh, your hair stayed perfect even through surgery.
And that's something else that his dad said to Christina at the meetup.
Also, I think Henry was picking up, well, as he usually does, on her nonverbal cues and her verbal cues, because you could tell that Christina was just uncomfortable and didn't want to be there and wasn't liking anything in his studio. But when it was time to see Christina's place, we found out that she said that she lived in a downtown district of the business center district of New Orleans. But come to find out, her stuff is still mostly in storage from California. So,
or in her car. And Henry said, oh, I thought you said you lived at so-and-so. She said, no, I didn't say that. And then they showed the scene after the wedding, and she said, oh yeah, I live in the downtown district. I'm thinking
maybe she was staying in a hotel or something. Maybe that's what she meant. Like, lived but not lived.
Maybe so, but Henry picked up on that. So the next day, Pastor Cal came over, and here comes the questions. How are things going? Where do you think things are going? Has there been intimacy? All that. And the answer to the question was, no, things aren't really going anywhere. Things are day to day. Henry said he's more reserved, which we know. Christina said she's more out there and open. And Pastor Cal said, you know what, Henry? We met you two for a reason. To help you bring out, your reserved energy. Because Christina is out there. She's more diva-like. She's more... And Christina was like, oh, so you call me out I'm a diva? He said, well...
It is what it is.
Henry said, yeah, I know that I'm just more to myself. I'm just more reserved. That's how I like to do things.
Yeah, but that was a safe answer. So I'm glad that Pastor Cal pulled it out of him, even though it was like pulling teeth this episode. Because Henry did say that he was attracted to her. But then Pastor Cal was like, so what is the but? Henry gives this analogy about a song or something. I was trying so hard to pick it up. I couldn't get it. No one got it. Did you get it?
I knew what he was trying to say. Like, things take time, like he always says. But Christina and Cal was like no.
No, what he was trying to get at was he doesn't like Christina's vibe. He doesn't like her energy. He doesn't like that she complains a lot. He doesn't like that she has diva tendencies. He doesn't like that she's impatient. So basically what I picked up from this, I don't know if you got it, Mom. He doesn't like Christina. He thinks she's pretty, but like friendship basis right now, yeah, anything else, it will be a no-go for him.
I mean, how could I not pick up on that? And the thing about Henry is, I would have never guessed he would have said that type of comment about Christina out loud. Maybe inside, but out loud, no. And that even threw off Pastor Cal. And the look on Christina's face was like, what? How could you? Like, really?
I knew Henry had it in him because he always made little spicy comments. But in all honesty, I thought Christina would have been the first one to say it. So I'm interested to see how Christina is going to act now. Is she still going to try to pull it out of him, or is she going to pull back some?
The next couple seems to have carried over a little bit of their drama from the honeymoon. Olivia and Brett. Now, okay, today they walk in to see the place that they're living at. They look around. They seem to like it. Everything seems to be moving fairly well, but you can tell there's some tension. And when Brett walks past the walk-in closet, he's like, oh, maybe we could put the cats in there, all three of them. Olivia's like, no, I'm not putting my children in there.
I mean, I agree. Who puts cats in a closet? Like, You have other stuff you can put on there. Just let them roam free.
Once they sit down to talk, Olivia tells in her confession how much she likes Brett and how she wants things to work and how she could see a future with him. Just all the nice bells and whistles that she's been saying. But they just have this communication problem as far as I'm concerned. So today's the day they go to each other's houses. First up is Olivia. When Brett walks into Olivia's house, he's like, oh, yeah, this is nice. Oh, yeah, that's nice too. But when he gets to the bathroom, he's like, ugh, I could throw up. Look at all this pink. It's like Barbie in here.
I'm like, no, Barbie is hot pink. That was pastel pink.
Either way, it's Olivia's, and she could do with it as she pleases.
Well, technically, it's not Olivia's. It's what Olivia rents. And this is one of the things, well, one of the many things that he doesn't really care about Olivia because she's not really good with their money. And he believes that people who rent houses is kind of like them throwing away money. So that's a check for Olivia on Brett's side.
And after they sit down to talk about it, Olivia says, you know, maybe you could see yourself living here with me one day. Like, this could be our home. He's like, no, because you rent.
Right. He's like, he's not trying to waste no money in Uptown. If it's not his, it ain't happening.
And Olivia's kind of taken aback by that. She's like, oh, okay, well, I was hoping you would like it here. He said, I do, but if I can afford it one day, I'll live here too. So now they go to Brett's place, and Brett's place is a little small. I was surprised. I thought it would be a little bit bigger, but Brett did say he lived frugal, so that's what it was.
Yeah, I was happy that he was a proud homeowner because that is an accomplishment. So I don't knock Brett on having that, but he loves his place. He has no plans on giving his place up. And his place was fairly neat.
And then when Olivia walks into a room, it looks like it's a gaming room. He's got dual monitors, things like that. She goes, oh, I didn't know I married a gamer. And you know what? I believe Henry likes the game too. Maybe that's something they have in common. They should call each other.
You know Henry does not like Brett at all. But she wasn't just complaining about the monitors being for gaming. She thought they were too big. So she was like, why are they in here? Why in this space? But I was like, doesn't she know that people use big computers? And he's in IT. So I don't understand what the issue was about that.
I don't know. Like I said, they just have communication problems. They say that they're on the same page. They're really not. Now, later on, Pastor Cal comes over to talk to them. Again, everything's back on the table for all the couples. And one of the things that come up is how they communicate. Olivia says, yeah, things are going pretty good. And Brett's like, yeah, they're going okay. Being dismissive.
He was being dismissive. And he meant what he said, that all he was really looking for was coming back for his cats. Because that's the only thing he seemed to be concerned about when they were having a conversation. Or while she was talking. But when Pastor Cal decides, of course, to dive deeper, they start talking about finances and her making more money than him and her wanting to travel and do all these other things. And she was like, you know, I thought I was going to get a husband who wanted to do those things. But Brett doesn't want to do those things. And he basically was like, you know what? If you're footing the bill, we can go. And this is where me and Mom were kind of going back and forth about this because she felt like she can see Brett's side of why he probably felt attacked by Olivia. But I was seeing Olivia's side because I'm like, she just wants to experience life. She doesn't want to do the day-to-day routine of coming home, going to work, maybe going to a movie every 2 months or so. Like, she wants to experience life, even though if she does have a little debt or she's not good at budgeting or whatever. Why can't you just live life?
Well, Brett said, well, you told me you weren't good at budgeting, but the reason why I can see Brett's point, I see Olivia's too, but really Brett's more because Brett said it took him time to save for a house, and it does if you ever bought one. And he doesn't make as much money as Olivia. And Olivia's point always seems to be, well, I like to travel. I like to do this. I like to do that. I like fancier things. That's fine and all. That is perfectly fine. But it's always in the way you present your message. And Olivia's message is coming across pushy and uppity.
And Pastor Cal basically told them, you know, marriages don't end because of finances. Marriages end because of communication.
Exactly.
About finances. So I can kind of see thumb teetering because I don't see Brett budging on his stance at all about wanting to do extra things because he just doesn't really seem interested. So for our last couple this episode, we have Woody and Amani. Now they did their scene backwards. Instead of us seeing them at their houses first, we saw them at their new apartment. And I didn't notice how tiny Woody was.
The smaller in stature?
Yeah, I never noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
I noticed he was smaller. What, you thought he was tall like Miles and Brett?
No, I just thought he was just a little bit bigger. But maybe because I saw his abs and stuff. But anyways, Pastor Cal comes over and he's talking to them. And of course he could pick up on the vibe that they're really meshing with each other well. So he just kind of just switches over. It's like, have you guys been intimate? They were like, of course we have been intimate. Of course they did with all the showers. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, well, I don't want to get in your business, but have you used protection? I'm like, Pastor Cal, you have never asked this question before. But their response was sometimes. And he was taken aback by that. Because he was like, what are you guys doing? You just met. You don't need to have babies right now. Now, it sounded like Amani was jokingly saying he wanted to have it on the honeymoon. But I think he was being serious.
Well, Woody did say, we was trying to do it on the honeymoon. And I think you're being serious. There's no reason to joke about that. But maybe they were being jokey. Because if you're not using a condom, we all know that it only takes one time.
Well, Pastor Cal then says, you know what? That's cool, y'all meshing or whatever. But he wants to dive deeper. And he dove deeper because he was like, what are the boundaries for you guys? He started off with Woody. And Woody said, if you so happen to, change something about yourself or do something without telling me first. He used the example of cutting your hair.
And when he said that, my pause was for real. And so was Amani's. Like, my hair, like, you'd have a problem with me cutting my hair. Mm-hmm. But in all fairness, I've heard men say that before about women cutting their hair. I'm not saying this right, but I have heard men say that before. And Amani was like, no, like, I can cut my hair. What do you mean? He's like, no. If you came in like a bald face, I mean, he went extreme. Like, if you got bald or whatever, like, you need to discuss that for me first. You need to discuss it with me. I mean, like,
yeah, no, he was dead serious about it. So when he read the room this time around and noticed that people were like not feeling what he said, he was like, you just have to talk about it with me first. That's all I'm asking, talking about it. Because then he went into a story about one of his ex-girlfriends who had an abortion, and he had his feelings about that. She had her feelings about that. And that's one of the reasons why he doesn't really like change without him being asked first. But I was like, what does that have to do with hair? Like, those two things didn't mesh well together because Amani picked up with like, if your problem would be something about my physical appearance, because he even said, if you do that, I won't be attracted to you. Mm-hmm. So are you really not attracted to her on the inside? Or were you doing all that wooing and stuff for TV and because you think she's pretty on the outside, but on the inside you're probably still trying to work out some kinks? Because it kind of seems like if it's not Woody's way, it's no way. What do you think, Mom? I have to know what you think about that.
And Woody was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And Amani was like, look at him like, I kind of think that's what you're saying. She goes, because I'm going to do me. If I want to cut my hair, I'm going to cut my hair. And Pastor Cal said, so what if she had alopecia? And Woody was like, oh, no, that's different. That's different because that's a medical condition. Okay, but clearly Woody has something about your appearance of how you look. Mm-hmm. And how they look together, because once they got past that scene with Pastor Cal, when they went to Amani's house, he's like, oh, we got to look good together, stuff like that, stuff he said before. Mm-hmm. But Woody needs to decide, what does he want in a woman, because Amani doesn't seem like she is attracted to the you trying to tell me what it is that I can and can't do kind of thing, and mm-hmm. I don't blame her.
And to my surprise, his grandma's actually cool with him bringing girls to the house. Not my grandma.
And not this grandma either.
So his grandma's house looked pretty decent. Only thing that Amani was not here for was the hat decor ball. She was like, I don't see this in my aesthetic vision. It's not happening.
Right, what is this?
He was like, oh no, we can do something else with that.
And when they get to Amani's house, he notices that she has a sewing machine and different little things in her room. And Amani's pulling out her clothes, and she has lots of stuff that has sequins on it. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, is she into fashion or does she make her own clothes? But either way, when she's pulling them down for Woody to hold on to, he's like, yeah, okay. Like maybe trying to coordinate his outfits, or maybe he's not vibing her outfits. I'm not sure.
Being the smooth talker that he is and always is, because he probably feels he's in the doghouse right now. So he has to get back on track to get those showers that he wants. All right, everyone. So that was the end of this week's episode. And it was actually really entertaining this week, especially because we got to see them go to other people's houses. But I am interested in next week to see where Henry is going.
Oh, I was surprised at Henry. He's starting to come out of his shell a little bit. He's tired.
I told you he was spicy.
And also, I'm looking forward to all the couples together to see how they mesh in their own house and to see how they truly get along. Because some of them who were front runners,
they're going down the list.
Yep.
Well, thank you all so much for watching this week's episode. Make sure in the comments down below you let us know what your thoughts about this week's episode is, or what you think is going to happen next week. So please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. You share this video to other people who also watch Married at First Sight. And you also become a subscriber to our channel, because we're going to have another giveaway really shortly in the month of September. So don't miss out.
Thank you all for watching. And as always, live simply, be grateful.